Star Trek The Next Generation was a show. Star Trek The Next Generation. Everybody I interact. A show that I started watching when I was a really little kid. Can you believe it's been 30 years since Star Trek The Next Generation first?
Star Trek The Next Generation was my life.
I really grew up with this.
My relationship to how I should conduct myself. It was the escape from reality. Welcome to Next Generation's First Generation, where Patrick and Sascha take a look back into their favorite childhood show, Star Trek The Next Generation. This is where we attempt to reconcile how we felt as children watching the show and looking back as old farts now in our late 30s, almost 40s. Guests, social commentary, and good old-fashioned shade throwing on our favorite and least favorite episodes. Here comes Patrick and Sascha. So make sure to queue up your favorite DVD or Netflix, and we'll give you the countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to basically watch along with the episode. Magic
or a Muppet.
Am I a Muppet? My Muppet of a man. You gonna get a dog?
If it's fenced in yard, I'd get a dog.
You should totally get a dog so our dogs can play and kill each other.
Unfortunately, all the names I have for dogs are names of my friends.
You should totally...
If I got a beagle, honestly, I'd name it Pat. And if I got a golden retriever, it would be named Milo.
My grandmother, my great-grandmother, had a dachshund. And what was the name of that dog? Did you heard this story? I forget the name of the dog. It's Dita. Yes, I like Dita. Well, this Dita, the dachshund... didn't eat dog food. He ate sandwiches. And every meal, this dog got a sandwich. And the dog just ballooned up to the point where he couldn't use his legs.
Oh, no.
He just scooted around on his belly.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about that.
And then they put Dieter down.
Was it the bread?
The bread?
They did that to, I had a friend that basically did that to a golden retriever that's belly hit the fucking floor. It was the saddest thing I ever saw. And the noises that he made, too.
Oh.
He was just like, oh!
Jesus! Holy crap, that's horrible.
I mean, wouldn't you just want to put like a water bowl in the front of the dog and some kitty litter behind the dog and just wait a couple of weeks?
I'd be looking for my rifle and take old Geller out back at that point. Jeez.
They didn't put him down yet. They put him down after he had a stroke. But yeah, he lost all sense of equilibrium. But it was, his belly just hung all the way down.
That's so sad.
It is sad. I mean, it's just going around.
No, that noise is gonna haunt my dreams now.
And there's my parents' dog who they make an omelet for every Sunday.
Hey, that's a lucky dog.
For Libby?
Yeah.
Eggs are good.
No.
Ditto.
The
Ditto
dog
is so
has its
tall.
own frying pan that they specifically make the omelet.
No
so
way.
we're having eggs, and then my mom makes a 2-egg and feta cheese and something omelet for the dog. Yes.
What does everybody else eat? Gruel?
No, you get burnt
Dog
eggs.
food.
And my mom doesn't know how to cook eggs. She thinks that if there's
Except
any
for
liquid
Libby.
in the eggs, or if they're not as solid as the toast, then they're undercooked.
Oh.
Or in her words,
salmon.
raw.
Salmon.
So
they didn't have salmon, they had eggs.
Yeah.
Everything is like, egg should not be dark brown. I'm sorry. It's just...
Alright. Well, we're
We're
doing this episode, huh?
Yeah.
This is the Star Trek Next Generation Cakewalk.
Yeah.
So this is
we're doing a matter of honor.
Matter of Honor, not Matter of a Man, or a Man of Honor, or Honor of a Matter.
The honor of the matter.
The Honor of the Automater.
The Matterhorn?
The Matterhorn Automater? Yes.
Oh, the Matterhorn.
It's Riker's Matterhorn Automater.
I've been to the Matterhorn.
Otter's
Something
alma mater.
We have not considered, because this involves the Klingons, is the honor of matter.
Well, okay, so here we are. Matter of Honor. This is, it's about a week before Valentine's Day, February 6th, when you're listening to this.
Love is in the air.
You're thinking about your taxes. Should I buy roses or should I pay taxes?
Meh.
Pay taxes.
Taxes?
The
Pay
roses
taxes.
die.
Pay taxes.
Taxes. All right. So this is a watch-along podcast, so go ahead and pop in your favorite DVD or Netflix, and we're going to give you the countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you can watch along and hear this wonderful commentary track. So we've got our remote
Yep.
Do we
set
intro
up.
everybody?
Oh, yeah,
We got
that's
a
right.
party.
I think it's assumed that we're all here.
Yeah.
Well, can't you see? I mean, just
Roll call.
open up your ears and listen to the voices.
If
of
you're
the-
not here, say
let's
aye.
give our 10 seconds of silence and start the episode over with introductions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like this intro.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Next Generation's First Generation, a Star Trek The Next Generation watch-along podcast. I'm Patrick Delmore, and with me, as always, is Mr. Sascha Shouties.
Hello.
To my right, we have Nigel.
Hey there.
We have Jem.
Hello.
Yay.
On my left, Bryant is back. And our episode artwork designer, Matt, is here.
Yay.
We are all gathered together to watch the 8th episode of Season 2 of Star Trek The Next Generation, A Matter of Honor, where we are going to learn quite a bit about the Klingons. And it's a bit that sticks around, too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, they establish a lot of really cool Klingon lore in this one. So
You're on
let's-
the DVD.
Yeah, we'll have to make sure to unmute it.
Which I just did.
Yeah. And
We're
so
going 5, 4, 3, 2,
2,
1,
1,
and
and
engage.
So there we are, trekking along, having fun.
Not worrying about time dilation at all.
Yeah,
No?
not this time. Don't they have temporal sensors on the ship, too, so they would know before they noticed it.
I they didn't have those until Voyager.
Didn't, we'll always have Paris, didn't they have a temporal thing that could tell that the time skips were happening?
Well, I don't know, but all I know is that they can check their ship clock to some space buoy out there.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, what time is it? You lost 3 seconds. No!
That'd be funny if the space buoys were manned. There's a time space
Oh,
buoy.
no.
There's just one guy.
Wes
The
and
last
Riker.
time I
They
saw...
they are manned. They have an episode of that.
Okay.
Oh,
They
it's a
have the-
communication relay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
where the
right.
murder happens.
Oh, you're right, yeah.
Isn't it a dead end job then?
The sad part about that murder, the dog did it.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, right?
But
So,
How?
drink the captain's Earl Grey.
yeah. Well, you're gonna have to watch the episode in 4 years.
Well, they're bringing they're bringing the new crew on board.
Asthma guy.
They're all apparently the same
Murdoch.
section because they all have the same color uniform on.
I'm thinking so. So they're all the sciences.
Okay.
Hey, you look like that one guy I knew that looks exactly like your race.
Yeah,
it must
Wesley
be him.
goes super racist here.
Yeah.
It's like, I will proceed with complete confidence in my ignorance that because you look like a guy, you are that guy. And Riker's like, I'm not going to
Oh, how
embarrass
do you tell each other apart?
I know.
So is it actually the same actor?
I think it is, yeah.
Probably, but yeah, it was the Star Trek version of "Don't you all look the same?"
Sorry, Nigel, what were you saying?
It very well could actually be Murdoch. He's just messing with Wesley.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's the kind of joke that he would want to play.
I think I mentioned in a previous episode that when we encountered Mordok, the previous alien of the species, I was basically wearing a Saru mask backwards with
Yeah.
all the tendrils. Saru had him behind his ears rather in front of his mouth.
Did you see the look O'Brien just gave Riker about that?
Whoa, look at those high-tech graphics.
Yeah. Why did Wesley even have to be there to see the?
Because he's
come
taking
on
him
board?
to the
Because
to
he's
the
Riker's
bridge.
pet.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's got to take part of his agreement with Picard is he takes him out for a couple hours a day and stretches his legs,
Make sure he gets watered.
pretty much.
well, Riker. We always kind of talk. He's the alpha male who has to kind of be a jerk to everybody on the ship. So it makes sense that he takes Wesley to him because it's easy to be a jerk to Wesley.
I like that this game they're playing is like the old Nintendo exercise pad.
Yes.
Where it's like, this game will be played better if you hold your left hand flat and keep your elbow at a right angle.
That's the worst defense pose.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
You could just see the Nintendo Power Glove on Picard's hand.
And if you get a bad score, it's like, try again. Keep your left hand flat and your elbow cocked at a 90-degree angle.
Wait until you get tennis elbow.
I think they actually edited the frames here because look how dark it is on the lower right-hand side when they look at Riker.
Yeah.
See how it's kind of faded there?
Yeah.
We saw that in the
That was the
pilot.
first episode.
Farpoint. They had that problem too. I like the perspective drawing of the phaser lines coming at you. Well, it's credit time, folks. So let's see. Season 2, Episode 8. So this was directed by Rob Bowman. Story was by Wanda Haight, Gregory Amos, and Burton Armus. Teleplay was also by Mr. Burton, and featured music is done by Dennis McCarthy, which means I hate it, because it wasn't done by my buddy Mr. Jones.
McCarthy's still a good composer.
Yeah. So anyway, this aired on February 6th, so that means that you're trying to figure out what the heck to do with your time on this rainy, springish, wintry day. Paying taxes or buying flowers for your honey.
It's we're recording this in December of 2018, and it is a rainy but warm December here at Cantley Studios in Seattle.
It's most likely going to be rainy at Valentine's Day, though, anyway. So.
Oh, yes. So, that episode where we saw the Benzonite Mordock is Coming of Age.
Yes.
That was to kind of put a
That's
button
a good
on that
one.
conversation. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
You know, if I had to choose, though, between the Benzonites coming back and that oaf species that you have to get in a fight with.
Oh, the one with the web hands, guys?
Yeah.
Hey, the Benzonites are interesting. I like them.
I don't think we ever see the Benzonites after this episode.
No.
You see him again in Deep Space Nine.
Oh, yeah, one of them's
Shuttle
piloting
pilot and gets destroyed.
Runabout.
Doesn't have the mister. Apparently they solved that problem. Or lost the problem.
Lost the prop. They found better ways to hide the microphone for the actor.
So now Worf has given Riker a rundown on what it's going to be like on a Klingon ship.
Wait, where did Wesley go?
He's on the bridge, I imagine.
Oh, I thought that Wesley was with Riker.
Put him back in his kennel.
So they're talking about the chain of command on a Klingon ship. Riker's saying, well, one of the duties is the first officer is supposed to kill the captain if something goes wrong. And the second officer could do the same thing to you. So Riker's a little unsure because he thinks, well, doesn't that interrupt the command structure on the ship? He's like, oh, no, not at all. It keeps everybody in check.
Yeah.
So what's interesting about this episode is that you got Riker and Worf, who are kind of the bullies of the Enterprise. Who are just
I don't think Worf's that much of a bully.
But
we've
we've seen episodes where they like, ooh, you're gonna get it.
Mm-hmm.
And now Riker's gonna have to, in this episode, he's going to be a guest first officer in exchange program to a Klingon ship. And we get to see him exercise.
First time Dexter Clay has spoken.
Dexter Clay!
Dexter Clay, our favorite extra in the show.
Star of the Webster crossover, too, apparently.
Oh, you kidding.
Should we find that and try to do a commentary on
We
it?
should.
Yeah, I just found out there's an episode of Webster where he, from 1989, is the final episode of the show, where he travels to the Enterprise and hangs out with Worf and Dexter Clay.
Yes, you should
cool is
definitely
that?
find that.
Yeah.
So anyway, like I said, this episode where Riker's the dominant personality on the Enterprise, and he gets moved to a Klingon ship where he has to prove himself all over again.
But Riker has the right personality for that. Data would have been interesting to see how that would have gone.
But what if they sent somebody who didn't have an alpha personality?
Like
I think
Geordi?
Well, Geordi, that would be good.
That'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Or Deanna.
Even more interesting.
Yeah. Some would say they're not up to the challenge.
Yeah, I'm imagining what it would have been like for Geordi on that ship. I think he would have been like, all of this stuff, doesn't work the way that it probably optimally should.
Yeah.
It's like that red, that red glare could be fixed real quick.
Why is he having such a hard time stabbing it?
He's eating Klingon food.
Oh.
Our first glimpse into Klingon food. So he's trying to immerse himself into the culture.
You'll notice he's over his fear of eating bugs from last season.
Yep. That's right. This show is all about, if it's not ham and cheese, we're not really interested and we think it's gross and you're weird.
Which I think it was brought up before, especially I think when Picard was trying these delicacies, you would think that as a captain of a ship that travels through space, that would be one of the expected things is to, just kind of suck it up and eat it.
In front of other dignitaries, yes.
Yeah.
But not necessarily in front of your own crew.
True.
Not in front of your homeboy there.
Well, there's a great
Your
DJ Riker.
phaser buddy.
there's a great counterpoint episode to this episode where they receive a Klingon exchange officer and they cook him a turkey dinner.
Yeah.
He's just poking at the dead bird like, I don't get
Been
it.
laid in the sun too long.
Well, I feel like the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was a huge influence on, foreign eating scenes for years.
Oh yeah, with the chilled monkey brains.
Oh, yeah.
Eyeball stew and the...
I mean, it's kind of cool that he's just down in this.
Yep.
I mean, he's just like, shovel it in my mouth. And Pulaski and Picard are looking really uncomfortable. Like, this guy's into it a little too much.
Truth be told, some of that could be really delicious. Because,
True.
you take some of our American food and you bring it other places. And it's like, what are you doing?
I like the idea that they had like a version of a fraternity at Starfleet Academy, and Riker was like one of like 9 people that was in it.
Oh.
It's like really not that popular anymore.
Fraternity
The fraternity is like basically like Model UN is now, where you're kind of archaic and kind of a nerd of a certain vintage if you're into that.
It was really interesting. They laid the second seed of the plot in this episode. So the first one was Riker was kind of quizzing Worf, okay, who kills who when? And then Worf also hands him
A
a
transmitter.
transponder to make sure he returns to the Enterprise. So they're just dropping all these little episode clues like, this will come into play later. Oh, this is where he gets to talk to the captain.
That is not your concern. Observe your station, Ensign Bennett.
Yeah, I'd love it if Worf was like, would you like to know how many people on the bridge I have to say, keep your eyes on your own station to ever? Like, I've been on this mission for 2 years. You. Literally just you. And you just got out of training.
So Mendon found something.
Which he should have... I still don't get, like, why he didn't report this immediately. Is this like going back to the binars? Because you assume that you could just send it to Worf's station, and then Worf would ask him... wouldn't even need to send it specifically, just like a little, blip to where Worf's standing. He's like, what'd you send me? And he'd tell him, and then Worf would be like, okay. That way, he's followed procedure.
Yeah.
Because we assume he's taken, the psych test that Wesley took. Maybe this is his psych test.
Well, so
Maybe he's on his psych test right now.
They
That would be a
mentioned
good
that. So
episode.
they
Yeah.
mentioned that this is an exchange program.
Yeah.
So it's implied that he may not be part of Starfleet.
He's got an honorary rank.
They just gave him a uniform because they felt like it.
That makes sense.
And then
Warrant
Wesley,
officer.
Yeah, well, Wesley talks to them about it. Where he mentions, they say the reason you're here is so you can learn how Starfleet does things. That again implies he's in the Benzonite Navy. Or
But of course,
whatever.
they didn't give Riker a Klingon uniform to wear.
Yeah, what's up with that? That would have been really
I
interesting. He would have looked really out of place,
There's a
too.
chance for some fanfic or some fan art right
Only
there.
the little boys ones fit you right.
Well, the Klingons always call the Starfleet uniforms a child's uniform, I think.
I am Ensign Menda.
Oh,
Because
please.
it doesn't look battle ready.
STFU?
Why are you talking to me? And he's trying to go to the bathroom there, too. That's the back bathroom. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I'll be darned.
Yep, that door. So the opposite door, in that little doorway there is a conference room.
Okay.
You gotta wonder why he's going to the public restroom when he's got a private one in his ready room.
Well, would you want to lay a steamer in your office bathroom?
Yes, but having been on a military ship before, if you've got a private restroom, you don't go down and, with the other 30,000.
Well, maybe he's going down to make sure they have enough seashells or something, like the 3 seashells in the bathroom.
What?
Oh, it's
Seashells.
from.
Demolition Man?
Yes, thank
Oh.
you. A great movie. So there, a little workplace harassment there from Worf.
That Klingon ship looks amazing for...
They
It's a-
pulled that from the one of the
Star Trek
movies.
Star Trek 3.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's why. We are on board the Pach with
There's 4 basic Klingon scenes that they pulled from the original series movies that they keep using. Is whenever one of them explodes, that's usually from the movies, and then they'll cut to an internal scene where the hull is ruptured and you see a Klingon bounce off the walls and get sucked out into space. They recycled that one dozens of times.
So we're on the Pog. Pog.
Remember
just
Star
had
Trek?
this for lunch.
It's back in Pog form.
You want to see my Pog on the Pog? It's a Pog. So this guy, Lieutenant Kling, is played by Brian Thompson.
Lieutenant
he was-
Kling the Klingon.
Yeah, the guy who's leading him around. So he was in the Terminator. He was in the Three Amigos. Believe it or not,
Huh, who are the 3 amigos?
that's a really good.
Oh, 3
question.
amigos. I'm thinking of 3 caballeros.
Yeah, not Caballeros. That would have been cool. He was
Well,
an American Bounty Hunter in the X-Files, so he had a lot of sci-fi stuff going on. He lives in, I think, Ellensburg now.
Really?
Yeah.
Of all places.
He's 59, birthday August 28th.
All right.
Oh, he was a young
Come on the
back
show.
came on. He was he was 29 when this came out.
So he was a character player, so he always played the bad guy. So he was just like, I need a street thug to rough some guys up as an extra in the background.
Does it just mean are a lot of Klingon captains fat?
Yeah.
They are.
I think if they knew their life was on the line because they weren't looking like good warriors, it would be like that. Now, nobody's as big as that opera singer on Deep Space Nine, though.
Right? That's a big Klingon. Well, here's what I don't
He
get.
also
So
ran a restaurant too.
Yeah.
So
you commented that why do all the older Klingons look really fat, but at the same time, they're supposed to fight to the death at any moment to defend their honor or their status claim.
The only thing he's going to defend is the buffet.
Yeah, don't you? Watch, that's the caveat to the duel. Okay, you challenge me, we're going down to the mess hall.
That'd be funny if that was the deleted scene in this. Riker's like, they're like, any questions, Mr. Riker? Y'all do this buffet style here. You got a chef on the ship. Like, do I just get a plate and load up, or do I
you do
order?
this Klingon family style, or
They do a really good job making all these guys look a lot taller than they actually are.
well, also what they do is that the Klingon ships are on levels. There's raised platforms, kind of all over the place.
Yeah. So what happened here is that Riker was challenged by his second command, and Riker, before he decided to beat this guy up, said, well, how should I proceed? This guy just challenged me. And the captain said, consider it your first duty as first officer. He's like, okay, I get to beat this guy up and establish my dominance.
Yeah, there's your Geordi moment. You sees the guy hit that console. There's this huge explosion. The captain's all, "Let's get this underway," and Geordi's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Slow down. We're not going anywhere until I look at that console."
Yep.
And you, Commander Riker. Obey my order.
So they're establishing a pecking order. Well, he passed the first test.
Yeah, what's the Klingon equivalent of testosterone?
I don't know. They've got...
Testosterone.
What's the name of that
Cling
coffee
wrap.
they drink?
Ractagino.
I got Ractagino in my veins. Oh, this is great. Data's about to break the chair. So, Mordok, or not Mordok, kills me that I'm using the wrong name. I'm such a racist. Mendon. He says, "Hey, I found this thing. I'm working on it. Oh, by the way, I saw it on the Klingon ship."
Somebody tagged the Enterprise.
Yeah.
The substance appears to be a rare form of southern
And
bacteria.
And when Data hears that Mendon has done all this work without telling anybody, he's going to swing around in this chair.
Yeah.
It's just like, wait a minute. That should have just broken in 10 different pieces.
So how far?
There it is. Like,
It'd be funny if he literally just bent the metal. They made it play the noise like he just effortless. Look at his buddy at the console there. Gave him the dirtiest look too.
yeah.
Would have been hilarious as the last scene of the episode would be just Riker coming back going, "What the hell's wrong with my chair?" Yeah.
It's like
He's just sitting there looking underneath him and like, the whole frame's been bent. Who's been sitting in this thing?
So how far are we into this episode right now?
Oh, geez, I'd have to say maybe about 15, 20 minutes.
And we're just coming to the plot?
Yes.
Or did I?
well, the plot is that Riker's on a Klingon ship.
We're coming to the subplot.
Okay.
The A plot is Riker's with amongst the Klingons. The B plot is that there's some rust on the ship that's eating the ship, and they need to fix it. And this guy, Mendon here, is getting spanked for not telling anybody about it, basically.
Troy's not in this episode at all, but she would have been great in the role of, with your Data breaking the chair and Riker being like, "What's wrong with it?" And Troy's like, "Will you keep putting your foot on the leg?"
Yeah. I always said that they have a good budget for Windex on this show.
Oh yeah. I love that picture that's coming. That picture that's come out of the guy vacuuming the Enterprise. The
People I don't want to have as my mentor. That'd be Lieutenant Worf.
Yes. I mean, unless you want to fight, there's no way to earn his respect. I
I was going to say, because also one of people I don't watching, my back on a planet when I have a bunch of ambassadors with me.
Yeah, because he always jumps out of the way when shooting starts.
It doesn't bother searching any of the armed people coming in.
So here we are in the mess hall. I guess it's not buffet style. It's a Klingon woman. I think the first Klingon woman we've seen in the series.
No. Q created one.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It wasn't a real rendition of one, but he created a version of one.
I love those cups, the pewter cups.
Was there no Klingon woman in the one where they introduced the death cry?
No,
No.
those were three then.
That's
yeah.
right.
It's like the Klingon version of Boca de Beppo.
yeah.
But better.
Very good.
Captain had a coupon.
Yes, but
I always found this interaction to be a lot more realistic than future Klingon interactions, where they kind of are more caricatures of each other. Here they're actually having a decent conversation about food and throwing them a little shit at the same time too.
So would they say that Gug is the opposite of revenge?
It's a dish best served alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And warm rather than cold.
breastfeed you.
Oh!
Riker's like, "Really? What?
I was like,
Is that a thing you have?"
Damn it, Worf, you didn't tell me that!
It's not like their version of no managers.
You're not worried about my weakening, are you? Look around you.
Riker's so happy. He's like, these are my people.
Yeah.
So if there are no old warriors, then would having a fat old Klingon captain means that you're a disgraceful captain?
Age is relative in this. Remember, the Klingons will live as long as the Vulcans, 200-300 years.
Okay.
So the captain there could be, 50, 60 years old, and he's just...
But I will have him.
He just hasn't been evaluated.
I mean, the Klingons from the original series with Kirk are still alive as far as Deep Space Nine.
That's right. That's right.
And they're still in pretty good shape. They have gray hair, but they're in pretty good shape.
Yep.
Wait, I missed something. Is Riker being set up with somebody?
Yes, he is. So the joke is that, if you can't stomach our food, we'll have one of the women breastfeed you.
Uh-huh.
And now they're all just having a laugh at his expense.
Uh-huh.
I may be back for you.
Oh, Riker. He's looking a little scared. She serious?
Well, hot damn. I gotta put my whole face in this cup.
She's gonna be like, go ahead and pass me the whole bottle.
But
Yeah.
I kind of like this because this is more... It's Lower Decks Klingon.
Now that would be a show to watch.
The Lower Decks Klingon. So, follow around Alexander Roshenko
No,
during
real
the Dominion War.
Klingon.
Oh, ouch.
I'd love to see a Lower Decks version like at Quark's Bar where you're just following one of the waiters. And it's just one of those, like they did the Tribble episode in Deep Space Nine, where it's just in the background of an episode, and they're going, oh, look at that. Starfleet running around doing something.
That'd be a great role-playing video game, actually.
So Star Trek, Rosencrantz, and Guildenstern.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
there you go.
Our future is on us.
They did an episode of Deep Space Nine like that with an original series mashup.
Nice.
Where they went back in time and they play the episode in the background and they're just walking around and
Well, that's
filling
where
the spots of
Julian
extras.
Bashir had sex with his own grandmother, and
What?
now he needed genetic engineering to fix all the deformities.
That was the greatest thing too. They're like, all right, explains
Wait,
everything.
that's a real episode?
Yes.
It's a real episode.
Real episode.
Well, we don't know if he actually hooked up with her, but if he did, that would explain why he turned out...
Scientifically, why he needed to have all that done. Yeah.
Yeah. So, really, Bashir is the Philip J. Fry.
I
Now,
was just thinking that.
this is a good point here where they actually talk about their dishonor and why he talks about his dad not dying in battle and now just being an old man at home and is one of those shunned because he wasn't killed.
And worse, he was captured by an enemy.
Yeah, captured by
Yeah.
an enemy. It's one thing to live through the battle and not have died in the war, but to be captured and then released.
Now, you can escape and go back to regain your honor.
Yeah,
And they're actually...
if you were to take revenge, that's different. But to be traded in a prisoner exchange or just released and then you go home and spend the rest of your days on the family goth
I
farm.
love that Riker's all talking about how you gotta respect your father, and then when his dad shows up, he couldn't be more upset that it happened.
Well, I think he's just, parroting the values of the moment to keep this guy
Do
talking.
not express feeling the way you do. Perhaps you should.
I feel with my fists.
I was gonna. When does Riker express any feeling?
Yeah.
He
Other than one.
Yeah.
Riker expresses himself through his raging tromboner.
Wow!
Lord.
And scene.
Good night, everybody.
But he eats more gawk. So really what we talked about here is they talk about the bittersweet story of living the life of honor and making sure that you die in the line of duty and doing what's right for yourself or your family or your ship. And that if you grow old, you better grow old with honor, or you have no place in the family or in society.
It'd be funny if they had an episode where Wesley was asking people, what they did for fun at the academy, and Riker's like, ska. And then Wesley's like telling his mom, and now every time I walk past the commander's quarters, Flight of the Bumblebee's playing at full speed.
Wow.
They're on undesignated maneuvers in the feedback system. Find them.
So they need to find the Klingon ship. Oh, there's the graffiti.
Very Red
Whenever I
Dwarf
see
esque there.
this Klingon
Yeah.
shipping. Does the Klingon ship look like Slimer to anybody else? Totally looks like
Kind
Slimer.
of.
Color tint, but
Yeah.
That's a hole, Captain.
Yeah.
Were we hit by a small meteor? No.
What's that small meteor's name is? William T. Riker.
The opened onto a section
Wait, oh.
to withstand the change in pressure. Then what is it? A space organism eating away at our hull.
What'd you call it?
What is it?
An organism.
Oh, I thought you said something else.
So what I don't get is why can't they just get a couple of guys in suits out there and cut away the infected piece of metal?
Exactly.
I mean,
That's
what?
exactly what you would do. And then if this,
But wouldn't that put a hole in your ship?
Yeah, but they
you
can
patch it.
close off that compartment.
They were doing that in Enterprise. Is basically they'll say, okay, even with our modern our spaceships, you can say jettison section G32. There's
True.
a backup piece behind it. They hit it, and
Yeah.
the bolts just blow off, and it's to keep the thing from something like that from happening.
But if you're a warlike race and you jettison a piece of your ship, isn't that leaving evidence for potential enemies to study what kind of metal you use for your ships?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You go
then-
turn around and vaporize it just to get revenge on the organism eating your ship.
No, what you would do is you'd put a bomb on that piece of debris. Well, here they're putting Riker in a really tough spot because they're accusing the Enterprise of planting this organism, and Riker needs to walk the line between, serving this ship and this crew and also defending the name of the Enterprise and the Federation.
Intend to do, Captain. Intend. There's only one response. I intend to attack the Enterprise.
Of course.
There's no other logical explanation.
Yeah, and this is one thing that kind of pisses me off about the Klingons. They kind of wrote them into a corner where, like, the explanation is, let's fight. Every time.
Well, timeline-wise, are the Klingons and the Federation in a fairly good relationship at this point? Or
They're allies.
Yeah, they haven't filmed Star Trek 6 yet, so they've never really, at this point in the Next Generation, they haven't defined the scope of the alliance. We know we're at peace, so it's not one of those, it's a Klingon, shoot them!
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of mode, but it's not one of those, are we hanging out at each other's places on weekends, or are we just casual, what's up in the grocery store when we walk by?
Because at this time, if a Soviet sub, shows up in Chesapeake Bay, bye.
Yes.
Yes, but if
We're
you're out at
still-
sea, you can be like, hey man!
Reagan is still president, albeit he is a lame duck, and the late George H.W. is on his way in.
89?
Yeah.
89? Was that
the
a Reagan?
Year of it was the year that Bush was inaugurated.
Oh, okay.
But,
Then this is February of 89. Inauguration is
January.
So
Yeah.
January is around January 20th, I think, of the
You're right.
inauguration.
I was thinking of
Nancy Reagan still packing up her boxes in the White House.
Oh, man.
all of her crystal balls and.
So Mendon and Wes here are going to have a junior grade
and
grade
not manning their
conversation.
stations.
Yeah. Little do they realize it's that one little alcove that echoes out into the entire bridge where everybody
like
can hear
that.
what you're saying.
Poor Will Wheaton's got to hold his hands there so you can't see his junk in profile.
Is that on purpose? Is that really a thing?
I'm assuming that's why he's holding his hands there.
I forgot how tall he was.
Mendon?
Will Wheaton.
Oh, is he tall?
He looks tall. Because he's almost as tall as Mendon.
Because he's wearing graffiti pajamas. That's probably why he looks tall.
So, meanwhile, who's flying the ship?
Yeah.
Did he just put it in autopilot and walk away?
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah, he did basically the equivalent of, let me just tie a belt around the steering wheel and hit cruise control.
Well, if you're not going somewhere specifically, if you're a helmsman, isn't your job just to make sure that the deflector array is doing what it's supposed to do?
And even that, that's why I always say this, what do you do for an 8-hour shift on the bridge of the Enterprise if something isn't happening? I mean, you have the defensive guys are keeping an eye on the screens. Like you said, the guy doing the deflector thing. Well, what does Captain Picard do for 8 hours sitting there? He just sits there going,
He holds the crystal and thinks.
He goes into his office and plays with his fish?
Yeah.
I mean, what is he doing for 8 hours? What is Riker doing for 8 hours?
Oh, dear Livingston, let me tell you the chronicles of my day.
He writes
He
his
doesn't have his
captain's
flute
log.
yet, so...
I had crumpets.
Enlarges the fish to human size and does a dance number with it.
He orders people around.
You walk up, Riker walks into the holodeck, he's like, bet you're wondering what kind of explanation I got for this.
So they're still explaining the organism here on the Klingon ship, and they found the Enterprise.
The Enterprise is on an intercept course with
And they're about to discover the Enterprise is looking for them, but no, we still must fight them.
You almost had me there, Riker. You old so-and-so.
The Enterprise is
Rub my belly a little bit more.
Ask them. Reason is obvious.
I don't have their phone number.
Like, this is a small ship. Why are you yelling?
I want to. I'm a big Klingon man.
Which is funny because I don't think that bird of prey could last 10 seconds against the Enterprise.
It doesn't
No,
have cloaking
the
devices.
Enterprise
though.
wouldn't even have to slow down. It would just run through it. It would give Data something to do. But
No,
He's so still.
It's just they said the designation of the paw is a cruiser, not a bird of prey.
You think he's standing because the chair's still broken?
Yeah.
How strong are the cloaking devices, though?
Pretty good.
I mean, it won't save any ship from running into it, though.
No, it just makes it invisible.
but they do address that
It's
in
space.
future episodes.
It's-
What it is like a stealth.
Oh,
It doesn't
okay.
remove it from space. It just means you can't see it.
Okay.
We're in outer space. It's pretty much. It's very, very difficult for two objects to happen to slam into each other, especially when they both have deflector arrays on them.
Now, having said that, this is Star Trek, where they
I know.
surprisingly run into
Or
stuff all the time.
somehow able to beat
They have
nose
to
to
get an
nose
episode
with.
somehow.
Other ships and objects, and pretty much crash into anything in the galaxy.
Which is funny because when they talk about transporter range and weapons ranges, they're always talking about like in the hundreds of thousands of kilometers range. But no, to talk to each other, let's get 100 feet from each other, beam to beam.
We'll have two cadets open a hatch, and we'll just float a can out with a string.
Oh wait, Enterprise did that already.
I was listening to NPR yesterday. They just resupplied the International Space Station for Christmas.
Okay.
Oh.
It took them 3 days to dock the
Oh
resupply
my
properly.
goodness.
That's how hard it is.
Against the Enterprise, I will die with this crew. But I will not.
Well,
I will
here's
outman you. Watch me outman
here
you.
is Riker saying, "I'm not going to portray the secrets of the ship, but I will die fighting it."
Fight, 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 fight. The Klingon and human show.
I was going to ask how you were going to follow that up.
Stabby and pokey.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Matt? Batleth or Disruptor? How would you like to go?
Disruptor.
Yeah, me
Disruptor.
too.
Those aren't real words.
Yeah. Batleth is a big samurai-like sword. It's a bow-shaped sword. You hold it with two hands or with one grip with the extension along your arm.
What is that called?
Scimitar.
No, that Japanese thing where you
Sabuku?
Sabuku?
That's where you kill yourself
Yeah.
with a sword.
Seppuku.
Yes, thank you.
It's funny, back when they used to have, like, Excaliburs at the mall where they would, you could buy a sword if you were a rich nerd.
Yeah.
They'd always have Batleths on display in there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
nice.
selling them on a couple guys on eBay selling them for $60 right now.
Nice.
So what was the choice? Batleth or what?
Disruptor is just a ray gun.
Now, having said that, the way they describe the disruptor technology is it breaks down you from the inside out, and it's a lot more painful than a phaser.
So it's like
Phaser just
being on fire.
vaporizes you.
Right.
That's why you guys always go, oh, when they're hit with a disruptor, because it burns them from the inside out.
Oh, okay, so burn or slice?
I go
Now,
for
the
the
Batleth is
slice.
designed to disembowel you. The way the curvature is, it's just a cut that comes in and comes out.
This is
So-
wonderful discussion.
It's actually, they had a sword experts on this one show on the History Channel. Look at it. They said, in theory, it actually is a very well-designed sword for what it's supposed to do. For close quarter, not, edged weapon combat, it's great. It's got a lot of defensive properties, and it's just the surface edge and everything. You can block and slice at the same time and disable an enemy pretty easily if it's sharpened.
Didn't they use that on Voyager to basically beat the Borg?
Yeah, they've used it a couple of times. Worf has used it, and a couple of them have used it because it's one of those, the shields don't matter. It just goes right through it, and they just slice off their arms. And, if you move quick enough, because the Borg move pretty slow, you just kind of cut right through them.
That's definitely the way I'd want to go. Disruptor, no.
Not disruptor.
No, Batleth all the way.
Batleth. Okay,
'Cause
Sasha.
if I'm trained, I might at least be able to.
Yeah.
make myself
True.
a little
That's
bit.
true.
I want to
Have a
go
fighting
Batleth.
chance.
I'd want to go.
No,
Batleth.
I'm still going to go Disruptor, because having been sliced and stabbed before, I'm not going through that again.
So I love how we're talking more about how we want to die by Klingon weapon than actually reviewing this television show. This is a pretty slow moving episode.
But it
I
does
keep
bring in a
losing
lot
the
of.
plot.
It brings so the plot is slow, but it brings in a lot of stuff because it's the first time they examine the culture of the Klingons.
And we get a lot of FaceTime. We just get a lot of actual minutes looking at how they interact with each other, what the technology looks like, their costumes, their mannerisms. They're explaining, well, if you answered this way, I would have killed you, so you answered pretty good.
Yeah.
You saw how they flirted, which was interesting. Oh,
There's a snake in my boot.
more
Remember that
obese
Klingon women
snake.
produce breast milk?
Yep.
This is so dumb for the captain to do. Oh, you have a mystery object? Let me see that.
Smashy, smashy.
District 9.
My little container was all that was keeping me alive. Oh, boo-hoo.
Chief O'Brien, lock onto that transponder signal.
So this is actually pretty clever on Riker's part. He beams the Klingon captain to the bridge,
What's going on? Commander Riker is the only one who can tell us. We'll beam him directly here.
and then Riker's about to take over the ship. Oh, well, you lost your captain. I'm in charge next. So I swindled my way into
This is
command.
a theme that they use frequently, the somebody's in trouble theme.
Ready, sir.
I want to know who wrote the themes. That's what I want to know.
Kilometer. Prepare to drop cloaking shields. And fire
40,000 kilometers. Is that the same as a Calicam?
Transponder
That's essentially what the Klingon word is for it.
There he goes.
Their unit of measurement.
It's a
They
human
tricked us!
I relieved Captain Cargon. He was acting in an irrational manner.
So he's like, did you beam him into space?
Says
Into the
you,
cargo
human.
bay?
I'm your captain now.
Oh. Well then.
Where's your Messiah now?
Now watch Worf. Watch Worf. Everyone's just casually like, huh, what's going on?
Starship Enterprise. Riker has no honor.
Your bathroom back here.
There we go.
It's like,
I thought
finally,
for
Worf does something useful.
security.
But he doesn't approach him for a good maybe 10-15 seconds.
Well, he's eyeing him. He's trying to figure out how he's going to move before he does anything.
Yeah. But they're not called cloaking shields, buddy. I don't care. Turn them off.
Did I stutter? Oh, yeah.
If we are, it will be in battle, and I will die with you. So I repeat, cloaking shields off.
So I've lost count how many times we've seen our senior staff on the bridge of an enemy ship threatening to blow up the Enterprise. We have Riker. We have Geordi. You know, the "We Are Strong." You
Well, I haven't
have
seen that
Diana
yet, yeah.
in the Romulan ship.
Yeah.
Who else we got?
The Enterprise, we are here to assist. Do not
I like they're just having a chat with the
Yeah.
Klingon captain.
believe you. We are here to assist. Do you read?
Riker's done it a couple of times.
More than once. Oh yeah, when he was in the War Games, the second to last episode of this season.
And then he did it when, in the very end of the series, when Picard is on that archaeological thing, and Riker pretends he's a
Surrender.
That's right. Picard threatens to. That's right. The pirate ship.
yeah.
Boy, he cries like a little bitch.
Everyone who I hate has no honor.
Gonna need some cough drops after you talk there for a little bit.
He's the guy who talks tough to the cops and then starts demanding his lawyer immediately.
Yes.
So there they are, nose to nose again. Cardboard cutout.
So what we're saying, is it nose to nose or side by side? That's a really rare shot.
To actually,
Nose to nose.
Nose to nose?
What's your command?
just to meet like on a what would appear to be a level plane to the outside observer would be almost impossible.
Yeah, in the galactic massive
Yeah.
space to actually be able to approach at a high or even a low speed
Yeah.
and be able to come in and be like bridge to bridge where you could look out a window and look at somebody else is
True.
just
So is he restoring honor here?
Yes.
You tricked me, so I gotta treat you bad.
Yes, Captain.
One of the best recent science fiction novels is Anathem by Neil Stevenson.
Oh, yeah.
And that's about getting to like a society that doesn't have space travel, trying to get to the moon from Earth at the very end of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And literally that's so unlikely that you'd be able to do it in the amount of time that they have, that the guy has to travel into alternate realities where just by chance he makes it.
So what's the point of going to the transporter room to greet him if they can just beam him anywhere?
It's personable.
It might have been one of the shortest assignments in the history of Starfleet.
Wrong, number one. It was one of the longest.
Yeah. It's like,
Actually, I learned quite a bit.
no, one time I told Wesley to bring me a drink and he had anticipated what I wanted. Already had it in his hand. I thought about giving him another pip, but then I figured you would be jealous. But for about 0.8 seconds, he was going to be Lieutenant Crusher.
He just swings off the side of the set. Did you see that?
No.
He's holding onto the side of the door and just swings through the frame.
Nice.
This guy just manhandles the equipment, I swear.
The prop manager.
Freaks!
Take me a month to renew.
The Enterprise is really more of a rental car, so...
Next episode, freaks, you're bringing your own hammer.
At this point, a lot of the cast still didn't think the show was going to survive, so...
Well, that's
So
how
we didn't even see Chief O'Brien, did we?
He was in there.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's in pretty much every episode from the one where he's first named, the one before this.
Okay.
So it says music by Ron Jones, but the other guy, Dennis McCarthy, had the credits. So I'm thinking that was probably a collaborative work. Or they took some old themes and recycled them.
Which is not uncommon.
Oh, everything's recycled. We saw at least 3 different things, footage-wise, that were recycled from the franchise. So, well, there we go. So Riker went to a Klingon ship and flirted and laughed.
Oh, did he actually?
and beat
Whatever
people
came with that.
Oh, that's
I wasn't paying attention.
That's part of the deleted scenes.
Oh.
No, I don't know. That'd be funny if we saw Riker on a date, though.
Like,
That'd be
didn't
pretty
know.
interesting.
Live, laugh, and take over command.
Yeah, pretty much. That's right. Live, laugh, take over command. That's a pretty good way to put it, Bryant. And then we have Mendar, who just kind of oafed his way into the problem and
Mendon?
fixed
Mendon.
it. What did I say, Mendar? Mendon?
You said
The
Mendon.
benzonite.
Yeah.
The dude with the breathy thing.
Wow. And wow.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. How many outraged Klingon captains would we give this one? Out of 5. 5 being the most outrageous of Klingon captains.
Let's gonna talk about gonna rate it with disruptors or something.
Or disruptors. How many disruptor blasts?
I'm gonna give it 1. And it's a clever episode. No, I'll give it 2. But it's a clever episode, and it should be rated higher. But considering this is the second time we had to do this one, and it was like we just did not have enough to say about it. I couldn't get myself to sit through it another time to watch it before the review. I watched about the first half.
It was a pretty slow-moving episode. Yeah. And it didn't have any legs. They could have introduced this a lot better way. They could have put Riker on the Klingon ship, and then the Klingons were patrolling some other area of space, interacting with, let's say, like the Cardassians or the Romulans or some XYZ species, and remove the Enterprise altogether. And I think they would have gotten the same quality of cultural content.
But that would never happen because all these people are guaranteed a certain amount of screen time. Picard is technically the star of the show, so he has to appear in. There's very few episodes Picard is not in.
I think Picard's in every single episode.
Yeah, it's just...
Yeah.
So I'm going to rate it pretty high, actually.
Really?
I'm going to give it 3.
Now, why is that?
Not because it was a badly written, slow-moving episode, but it did introduce a lot. It was the first time someone sat down and decided to explore another. It wasn't just, hey, these are aliens, and you know they're aliens because they look different. You learned more in this episode about the Klingons than you did the entire original series.
So it's good cultural exploration.
Yeah, plus some of the movies. I mean, they really, like you said, you see their dining experience. You see they talk about their family in it and stuff. And the plot could have been better, but you could data mine this episode for a lot.
So it's an academic episode.
Yeah, it was. You needed this episode to establish other stuff coming forward.
Okay.
And that's, again, not everything's going to be an award-winning written episode, but they did put some thought, and a lot of these themes are recycled. The food, the names of the food, the concepts. This episode basically made it into the series Bible on how to write Klingon culture.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to. That's a lot of significance.
Cool. Well, I would agree with you that it has a lot of content. So, Nigel, for you, sir.
I would also give it 3. In addition to everything that Matt said, it was also a good Riker episode. You had to kind of look to see it, but there were some instances when he wasn't just being a jerk. He really helped out that guy that he empathized with, the Klingon at the very end, because it was Clog who hauled him off the ship, and Riker put himself in a position of dishonor, getting slapped around by the fat captain, just so Clog could be the one to honorably discharge him off. Which is a nice bit of sympathy for Riker. I mean, it shows that underneath it all, he has a heart. He's not just an authority figure. He has a certain amount of I'm gonna stand up for people who are underneath me, and I imagine we could talk quite a bit about the nature of honor and about who's really the honorable one. Riker, who tricked somebody to get off the ship, but in order to avoid a conflict, or the captain who was just ready to go out and die for what he believed in.
Yeah, the captain had kind of a eager death wish to go to battle. What I find interesting is that, listening to what you just said, Nigel, is that Riker knew his place. He was very comfortable with where he was at on the ship, on the Klingon ship, and could change things up. He's very flexible. As things unfolded, he put himself in a position where he wasn't dominating the situation unless he absolutely had to, but he also wasn't showing weakness, which is also an insult to Klingons as well.
And at the very end of the episode, Riker can be the only person in Star Trek history to have actually gotten a surrender from Jean-Luc Picard.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's probably going to go on his record, and Picard's as well.
Ooh, there we go. Yeah, Bryant.
I give it 3.
You give 3?
Yeah. I do like, we get to see Riker, take a punch intentionally to, restore the captain's honor, which is a little kind of goes against his normal, character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot to be said. It is a character development episode for Riker. It's a Klingon development episode. I would give it a 2, maybe 2.5, only because the story... I'm bored. I was really bored by the story. It's like, well, I'm not watching this to learn about a culture. I'm watching this to see phasers and action and adventure. I mean, going back to when I was a little kid, and the premise of the show is, what did we like about it as a kid? And I loved it when they were shooting the phasers at the beginning during the match. I loved it when the Klingon was getting into the fist fight with Riker at the very beginning, where they were establishing the rank between the second and first officer. I was kind of on a one-track ride when I was a kid. I'm just like, whoa, explosions, things. But action.
Yeah.
But as an adult looking in, I kind of appreciate what Matt said, was that this episode planted a lot of seeds of the Klingon culture. So by the time we get to my favorite series, which was Deep Space Nine, that all the material was there, so you had a rich understanding thanks to this episode. Well, this one and the Ship of Honor, I think it was the one with it was the first season, couple of Klingon renegades.
Code of Honor.
Code of Honor, that's right. So, yeah, it is a good episode, but just for entertainment wise, 2.5.
So you would have liked the new Star Trek movies a lot as a kid, then the Kelvin timeline movies,
Probably.
because they're really shoot 'em up, punch 'em up kind of stories.
Yeah, and I hate them now.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
Third one's good.
But I hated the original series when I was a kid too. So,
See,
Yeah,
I
that
grew
was
up differently. I honestly didn't. I can't remember. I don't remember much. I don't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. But honestly, the earliest episodes I can remember of The Next Generation is probably Best of Both Worlds.
oh, that's good.
And just doesn't, but not like that season, just as an offshoot. And I'm not even sure I saw that in its first run. I probably saw it years later in reruns. But I do remember watching the original series pretty heavily. So I watched that with my grandfather during reruns during the daytime.
Well, the idea was that there's supposed to be a parallel between Kirk and Riker, right?
Yeah, they're both the swashbuckling,
So,
you know.
so really, Riker really played a good Kirk in this episode.
Kirk would have put Riker right in his place, though, because Riker is out there to score for the sake of scoring. Kirk was not so much about that.
Yeah, Kirk, and he wouldn't have let him bully the crew. He would have been like, hey, you're the first officer, not the schoolyard bully. You can be tough, but you never belittle people
Only
in front of other people.
Only Spock could ever have been Kirk's first officer, though, because anybody else would have been so intimidated by being around Kirk.
Well, there we have it,
Wait,
folks.
Jeb didn't go.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Oh,
It's okay. I'm just a woman.
Oh.
So I'd probably give it 1 because last time we recorded kind of set the bar because that was the only 5 that I've given so far, and just in my own specific rankings, like the way that I rank, I'm not really interested in the Klingon race. Like, they bore me just learning anything about their history. And then the B plot was something about the ship, which I also am not a huge fan of because I hate, that's what I don't like about
you don't like the
about
technology.
sci-fi. Yeah, it's just here's all the mechanical stuff and whatnot. And so there really wasn't. I guess there was Riker character development, but there really wasn't any character development worth watching it for me. I just think that it was really slow moving. So
Slow moving.
yeah,
Slow moving technology.
slow
That's the
moving
worst.
technology. Learning about a really really warmongering race. So
Yeah. So what would your ranking be?
1.
1. So, but the question is, when you watch future Klingon episodes now, could you use this as a touchstone to better understand?
I can. And the one where they did introduce the death cry, I did like more. I'm starting to realize that I've been a guest host on a lot of episodes, and I don't know how I feel about that right now. But
I'll tell you how we feel. We like it.
We love
Well,
having
thank
you
you.
around.
We're excited for you when you finally get to come to the unicorn episode.
there's a unicorn episode.
No.
Oh, all the hope just drained from me.
Well, you bring up a really good the paradox, which is this episode, is that it's got great content to understand the race and how it will be applied in future episodes, but this episode itself is just kind of a stinker.
Yeah, well, there's so many other interesting races to me, and not the Klingons. So,
Yeah.
like the Vulcans, I think really fascinate me. But
And we see a lot of Vulcan exploration in Enterprise. You might actually like that.
okay,
All right, well, here we go. This is it, folks. Thank you very much for joining us. As always, you can catch us on iTunes, Spotify, our Facebook page, Libsyn, and we've got an email address.
NextGenFirstGenPod@gmail.com.
Wonderful, and you have a wonderful day.
why am I interviewing you guys?
So you're the guest.
So Sascha, what's
So-
Star Trek?
Hi,
Next
I'm the
Generation?
So,
guest.
Sasha, what is Star Trek Next Generation?
Seek us out at Next Generation's First Generation at iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. Music credits include Electric Car by Poddington Bear. Music heard in this podcast can be found at freemusicarchive.org. Audio engineering by Sascha Shouties. Chief Meme Maker and episode cover credit goes to Matthew Kirschner. Logo and graphic art design credit goes to David Clawwitter. And special thanks to Patrick Delmore for working with other podcasts to make sure the good word gets out.
Do you have a podcast that you think people should be listening to? Send us your promos and we'll play them on the show. If you'd like to email the show, you can email us at nextgenfirstgenpod@gmail.com. I've been Patrick Delmore.
And this is Sascha Shouties. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.
Good night.